Hi, my name is Deedee Berry. I interviewed Dr. William Watkins. He is the Vice President of Student Affairs and Dean of Students at California State University, Northridge.
First question is, what are some of the most popular areas for people to study, and are there any programs that CSUN has and other universities don't?
Okay, so our largest major at the university is a major called psychology, and the second largest is sociology. We also have a very large biology program there. We are pretty known for our music program. Our performing arts program is really well known there. And our accounting program. We have a lot of kids who come and study accounting and they go on to become professional accountants. We have several programs that are unique to Cal State Northridge and no one else has them in the United States. For example, our Central American Studies program, where students learn about Central America. It's the only one in the United States. We have a Deaf Studies program. We're only one of 3 universities that have that. And then we have Jewish Studies and Pan-Africana Studies. So we have a lot of different kinds of studies areas where our students dig deeply into the background of individual people from certain parts of the years. Our student enrollment this year is the largest ever in the history of the campus. It's 41,538 students, or somewhere in that order at Cal State Northridge. So we're the second largest university in the state of California. And that's up about 11% from the previous year in fall 2014. And then the previous year, before that, fall 2013, the enrollment had increased about 6%. So it's been going up really, really, really sharply. And as a result of that, for this coming fall, 2016, we're going to increase our admission standards so that we control the number of kids who come.
What is the size of some of the classrooms?
Well, the classrooms vary in size, but we're really pleased with the fact that most of our classes hold about 30 students, not more than 30. That's unlike some schools like UCLA. Most of their classes are like 100 to 150 students. So we have what we think is a small opportunity for students to interact with their teachers. So they're all the way from like about 30, and we do have some classes that are like about 150 students, but just a very few of those.
Does CSUN have programs for students with special needs?
We do. We have 2 programs that we're really proud of. The first one is for our deaf students, deaf and hard of hearing. It's called the National Center on Deafness. There are only 3 major universities in the United States that focus on deaf students. The other 2 are essentially deaf schools. Gallaudet is one, and Rochester Institute of Technology is the other. We're the only one on the West Coast, and the thing that distinguishes us is that we are essentially a mainstream school, but within it we have programs for deaf and hard of hearing students. So we have about 175 students every year who are deaf and hard of hearing. They come from all over the U.S. to study with us, and they actually live together in something that we call the Lighthouse in student housing. We have a lot of programs for them. The other area that we're really proud of is our Disability Resources and Educational Services Department. And so we have the largest number of disabled students of any of the CSU campuses in the state of California. So these are kids who may have a physical limitation, they may be wheelchair bound, they may have an inability to walk, they may have a mental condition. They may be autistic, a whole host of different kinds of physical and psychological challenges. So when those students come to us, generally they have a diagnosis, and we make sure that we ensure that they get instruction that's compatible with their diagnosis, and that if they need tutors, if they need note takers, if they need special accommodations, we help them out that way. And then our campus is really cool in that You know, the cutouts that you have of the curves here so the wheelchair people can get up? We have those all over our campus, and there's ramps everywhere. So if you're in a wheelchair or if you have limitations on walking, you can make it around our campus really easy.
Where's your favorite place to eat at Seaside?
My favorite place to eat. I'm gonna say the Sierra Center because that's just where I go most often. It's not far from my office, and it's you know, you can get various different kinds of things in there. You can go all the way from like sushi and like food at the Panda, and then we have in that same place we have Mexican food, and then we have Italian food, and then we have you know, meat and potatoes as if you were eating at home. And then we have a sandwich bar as well, and then we have a salad bar. All of that's in the same area.
What was your experience like at Seaside?
As a student?
Yeah.
I had a really good experience as a student. I was really involved in student government all 4 years that I was a student there, and I was president of the student body when I was a senior. I was the first African American to be the student body president. And so I had a lot of involvement with clubs and organizations, and when I was going there, it was far fewer African Americans there, and so we were doing everything that we could to improve that number. And right now, we have the largest single number of African American students of any of the 23 California State University campuses, the largest numbers at our school, so we're really proud of that.
What is your favorite part about working at Seaside?
My favorite part I don't get a chance to do as much as I used to. What I love most is working with students. And so that's why I came into student affairs work. I love to advise students and support them and to help them develop leadership skills and think about their future and be really committed to doing well in school. And as I have progressed in my career, and now that I'm a vice president, I don't spend as much time as I used to with students, but it's still the thing that I love the most. Right now, most of my time is spent working with administrators, making sure that we're all equally committed to student success.
And what is your job?
Okay, so my job title is Vice President for Student Affairs and Dean of Students. And I have a pretty big division that has many hundreds of employees in it, but in my area, I have a department that recruits students, student outreach and recruitment. So these people go out, talk to kids in middle school, even in elementary school about college going, and helps them apply to go to college. One of my departments is financial aid, and that assists people in paying for their education. Student housing is one of my departments, and that's where students will stay. Disability resources, we talked about that. We talked about the National Center on Deafness. Other departments are, I said student housing. We have the student union, which is in the Student Rec Center. Those are all areas where students hang out and do recreational things there. What other departments? The Student Health Center. I supervise the Student Health Center. I supervise the University Counseling Center, the Veterans Center, the Children's Center. Almost everything for our students outside of the classroom. Those are my responsibilities. And then I take care of students. I'm probably more concerned about student safety and to make sure that students are well on the campus. It's a very expensive sport. And in Los Angeles, because you have UCLA and USC, they really kind of dominate this environment here. So when we were playing football, which was probably about, maybe about 8 years ago, we were still playing football. At that point in time, we didn't have a lot of attendance. And so we, every year we would run pretty large deficits, like $500,000 per year. And so we got to a point where we decided that we just didn't want to focus on that anymore. So none of the schools around, other than USC and UCLA, they're the only schools in this area that have football teams. All the others dropped their football teams. We don't have football. We got rid of football some years ago. But we have basketball and baseball and softball and soccer and volleyball. We have 22 different sports that students can participate in. Golf, tennis. There's quite a bit to do in terms of, we have track and field, we have cross country. So pretty much almost all of the sports that students are interested in being in, we have those except football.
Who are some famous alumni that have graduated from CSUN?
You know, we don't have a whole lot of folk who are super well known in the area. There's a music writer and producer, Diane Warren, is a CSUN alum. Cheech from Cheech and Chong is a CSUN alum. A guy by the name of Steve Horowitz, who's a famous astronaut, a CSUN alum. Our campus is just about 53 years old or so. And so we're still at the point where people are graduating and going on and making a name for themselves.
What kind of activities are there when kids aren't in school? At class.
Well, on campus, there's a lot to do. We have over 350 clubs and organizations, so students can pick a club to be a part of. On the campus at noontime, we generally have a concert, so students can go there. We have a very large recreation center, student recreation center, so about 5,000 students use that every day. Sometimes we have arts and crafts for students who want to just be on campus and make things. Students have bake sales and barbecue sales and various kinds of fundraisers that they do. We have people who come and do lectures and give speeches on campus. So there's really a lot to do, but probably the one thing that the most students do is to go to the recreation center, because students love, we have track, we have swimming in there, you run laps, you can play basketball. We've got all kinds of cardiovascular equipment, treadmills and that kind of stuff, and you can lift weights in there, and trainers, and you can box, and just a lot of different kinds of things for students to do. We don't have football. We got rid of football some years ago, but we have basketball and baseball and softball and soccer and volleyball. We have 22 different sports that students can participate in. Golf, tennis. There's quite a bit to do in terms of, we have track and field, we have cross country. So pretty much almost all of the sports that students are interested in being in, we have those except football. So I've always been interested in how to how to make large public organizations meet the needs of the community. And certainly I think universities are one of the most important public organizations. And so I just really had a great heart for being there. Always felt that being at the university, when people send their kids from the inner city out to the San Fernando Valley, that they'll at least see one familiar African-American face, and I will be able to support them as they go. So it's been a great career for me. I've been at the university now for 41 years. It's like 41,000 students. I've been there 41 years as an employee. And never really had a real interest in going to another university. I love what we do there. It's like my second family.
How many students haven't graduated and do they intern?
It's hard for me to answer that question. I'll answer it this way. Most public universities are not pleased with the fact that a large percentage of kids don't complete their degrees. So there's several ways in which we look at degree completion, getting your degree. Most schools measure it on the basis of 6 years instead of 4. Now we call a bachelor's degree, we talk about it as a 4-year degree, but the vast majority of kids across the United States, it takes longer than 4 years. So the average is like about 5.3 years to complete your bachelor's degree. But we measure really on the basis of 6 years. I would say that we're not happy that we don't get more kids to graduate at the end of 6 years, and that's a real important goal. It's probably one of the important things for me to work on as I think about ending my career there. But less than 50% of kids complete their degree at the end of 6 years. So that's like 50-50 chance. You always want your odds to be better than that.